Hello kids, so in this session we are going to start our first chapter of grade 10, that is about nutrition. Ante ahara sarfara vyavastha gurinchi telusukuntam. Let us see quickly what are the objectives we are going to cover in this unit. The first objective talks about the autotrophic nutrition, photosynthesis, activity basing on that, factors essential for the process of photosynthesis, a factors require avutai, activity 2, lab activity the 2 to 3 which are talking more about in depth of this photosynthesis, and we see where does photosynthesis take place, likewise mechanism of photosynthesis, like how this process actually occur, and heterotrophic nutrition, like previously as I said autotrophic, here comes the next type of nutrition, heterotrophic. In that where we are going to learn how do organisms obtain their nutrition, parasitic nutrition in cuscuta, nutrition in human beings, ante manushuల్లో ఈ న్యూట్రిషన్ ప్రాసెస్ అనేది ఎలా జరుగుతుంది, and as well the passage of food through alimentary canal or guts. Now we know very well mouth to anus is said to be as alimentary canal, where how do the passage of this food takes place in this gut. We will also talk about activity 4, 5 here and flowchart of human digestive system. ఎలా ఉంటుంది, what organs are involved in this digestion process. Well, health aspects of alimentary canal along with the diseases that are occurred due to malnutrition, and finally the vitamin deficiency diseases. So now let us enter into this concept with the first objective. We all know that food is the basic need for every living organism for growth and repair. See, in lower sessions we have already learned about plant tissues, animal tissues, cells and everything. And there also we mentioned that there are some structures which are helping for growth and repair. Along with those structures, food is also a very important thing. Well, and we also know that several organisms, they even contain food or they even take food to maintain the body temperature. So first, as we discussed, we say for growth and repair, and then also for maintaining the body temperature. So second one we say body temperature. A large variety of substances are taken in by different organisms in the form of food. That is like from single celled organism like amoeba, protozoas, okay, to the multicellular organisms like we, the animals. Every living being needs food to be taken. Yes, and within the human body, a cell requires a large variety of substances which is taken in the form of food, and we know that most of the animals or most of the living organisms, they take food from the plants. So we say here the plants are the producers for the food. So we say the next as plants act as producers for the food. So here there is a question. Now how do these plants get their food? Now here we to talk about the mode of acquiring nutrition. Now when you are talking that every living being like ourselves, in humans our cell needs variety of food substances, but the mode of acquiring the food also varies from cell to cell and from organism to organism. తెలుసా? సో కణానికి ఒక మధ్యన ఉండే ఫుడ్ ఒక సరఫరా ఏదైతే ఉందో అది వేరుగా ఉంటుంది. అలాగే ఒక ఆర్గనిజంకి మధ్యన ఉండే ఫుడ్ సరఫరా ఆహారం అనే ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ అయ్యే మెకానిజం కానీ ఆ ప్రాసెస్ కానీ డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంటుంది. సో దట్స్ వై వి సే హియర్ in this chapter let us study about the different modes of nutrition of acquiring food, and also why plants are said to be as autotrophs. అసలు మొక్కల్ని ఆటోట్రోఫ్స్ అని ఎందుకు అంటారు? అసలు ఆటోట్రోఫ్స్ అంటే ఏంటి? ఎస్, autotrophs are nothing but these are plants or any organism that utilizes or that is capable of using the light energy to convert some of the chemical compounds like carbohydrates and the proteins and also some of the lipids, vitamins from simple substances. అంటే simple substances నుంచి, or we can say simple molecules, they help in conversion of these kind of chemical compounds, or we can also say complex compounds. Okay, so complex compounds. Ain't a complex compounds? Carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, fats, vitamins and etc. Okay, so this is the main reason why we say that autotrophs are said to be as helping in making out some of the food materials in the form of a chemical compound or complex compound. So basing on that, we also say that there are various steps and various mechanisms where the plant undergoes this process. Basing upon that, we say that these compounds which are produced by the plants as food, these are utilized by these cells of different organisms to give in the form of energy, or we can say they are utilized to provide some energy to various living organisms, like even ourselves as animals, as human beings. They are utilized by us in the form of energy. Most of the food or the things that we eat are obtained from plants. Avuna manam tine ekkuva shatam ఆహారం అనేది మనకి ఎక్కడి నుంచి లభిస్తుంది? మొక్కల నుంచి, right? And if we depend even on animals also, where does the animal is depending on again? Exactly on the plants. So మనం ఒకవేళ animals ని ఒక food గా మనం తీసుకున్నా కానీ where they are getting food from? Yes, they are also getting the food from the plants. So that's why we say that scientists, they have been working since some centuries and centuries to find out a question and the answer for this, that how do plants carry such kind of life processes? మనం ఆల్రెడీ ప్రీవియస్ సెషన్స్లో డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నాం, రైట్? లైఫ్ ప్రాసెసెస్ అంటే ఎవ్రీథింగ్ కమ్స్ అండర్ న్యూట్రిషన్, డైజెషన్, రెస్పిరేషన్, ఎక్స్క్రీషన్, సర్క్యులేషన్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్. Now here our concept is about nutrition. So ఆహారాన్ని తయారు చేసుకునే పద్ధతి అసలు మొక్కల్లో ఎలా జరుగుతుంది? How do they obtain? Yes, plants have a special mechanism and a process to have this kind of food production factory, we can say. So this food production takes place through a simple process called as photosynthesis. That's why plants are said to be as a universal food provider. అందుకే plants ఏమంటున్నారు? Universal food provider. So this plants, these are helpful, or these plants are helpful in giving us food by a special process called as photosynthesis. We all know about this very well, but as in the earlier classes we have learned that this photosynthesis, von Helmont is a scientist, and along with other scientists he had done some various experiments to find out that how plants get their food material. And yes, he said that plants obtain the food material from the soil and from other sources. And now what is this photosynthesis? Yes, so we say that photosynthesis, so we have to put the arrow mark in the upward direction, because from simple or inorganic molecules we are getting complex organic molecules. But one very important thing, in the presence of sunlight, we know every reaction has a catalyst, right? Catalyst is nothing but a substance which helps in completion of the reaction but doesn't involve in the reaction. So sunlight helps in completing this conversion of simple inorganic molecules to complex organic molecules. So under presence of sunlight, this chemical process takes place, hence this is called photosynthesis. Now very important thing, that in this process or in this mechanism there are several steps and various numerous intermediary compounds are formed, intermediary substances are formed, whereas these substances are also playing very important role by releasing some gases into the air. Yes, so we know very well that for this scientists have been working over past 200 years to give a simple equation how this photosynthesis occur. అసలు ఈ ఫోటోసింథసిస్ ప్రాసెస్ అసలు ఎలా జరుగుతుంది అనే దానికి, లేకపోతే ఒక సింపుల్ ఈక్వేషన్, ఒక కెమికల్ ఈక్వేషన్ ఇవ్వడానికి కనీసం 200 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి కష్టపడుతున్నారంట. And they were trying to make it past over 200 years. But later on, the readily made equation by a scientist named as C.B. Van Neyl. So scientist name C.B. Van Neyl. In the year of 1931, he has proposed a simple equation saying that there is a food produced or that is readily made by the plant in the form of carbohydrates, or we can also say it as starch, or also said to be as sugar, and specifically glucose. So he said that carbohydrates are produced during which there is involvement of one molecule of water and one molecule of oxygen in this process. So he said one molecule of water, so I make it as H2O, and then one molecule of oxygen, due to which the complete process of formation of carbohydrate is taking place. This is nothing but glucose, which is in a starch form or a sugar content. So he gave an equation talking about the photosynthesis reaction. So he gave an equation talking about the photosynthesis reaction in as this. So C.B. Van Neel, he has proposed an equation like CO2 plus 2 molecules of water helps in giving out a sugar component, that is a carbohydrate, with release of water and oxygen. This was the equation given by C.B. Van Neel, where the catalyst acting here are the sunlight, and we know the green pigment in the leaf, chlorophyll. Yes, so under the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, he has coined this equation. But after that, he also worked on a special, kind of a compound like purple sulfur bacteria. He used purple sulfur bacteria such that he found that instead of release of oxygen molecule, which happened in the previous case, there was release of sulfur, because instead of water, or you can say water here, he used hydrogen sulfide. Because the sulfur bacteria, he used hydrogen sulfide, in which in place of oxygen the sulfur is released into the atmosphere, and hence he found that one other scientist found that this equation to be rewritten or reframed, and he said that oxygen comes out or oxygen is released due to presence of water. But in the Van Neel experiment చేసిన తర్వాత, replacing the water molecule with hydrogen sulfide, when he found that sulfur is releasing out in place of oxygen, the other scientist, namely Robert Hill, he proposed that the oxygen molecule is released because there is a presence of water molecule. Due to the presence of water molecule, oxygen from the water H2O is released out in the form of gas to the atmosphere. So Robert Hill reframed the reaction like this. CO2 H2O gives rise to C6H12O6 plus H2O plus O2. So we know very well that in chemical equation, it should be always a balanced equation. This is the equation. So CO2 plus H2O gives rise to C6H12O6 with H2O and O2, that is oxygen, which is released in the form of upside arrow mark. We have to show it. Now we know very well that every chemical equation, it should be a balanced one. So if we write the balancing, then we write 6 CO2 plus 12 H2O gives rise to C6H12O6 and 6 H2O plus 6 oxygen molecules. Now just count the molecules here. Carbon should be 6, and yes, we have 6 molecules of carbon here. Then oxygen, 6 to 12, and then here 12 ones, 12. So 12 and 12 oxygen are 24. So again we see here 6 and 6, 12. 6 to 12, 12 and 12, 24 oxygen, well balanced. Okay, so we have balanced the carbon, we have balanced oxygen. Now let's talk about hydrogen. Now hydrogen are 12 into 2, 24. So we have hydrogen here 12 and 6 to 12, 12 plus 12, 24. So we have the hydrogen also balanced with 24. So the total molecules of the reactants are equal to the products. That is a chemical equation. So this equation was given by whom? Evaricharu ee equation evaru propose chesaru? Yes, Robert Hill. Robert Hill has proposed this by saying that oxygen molecule is released due to the involvement of water. So if there is an replacement of hydrogen sulfide, the sulfur is released, but it should not be done because plants contain chlorophyll and they take in carbon dioxide to release oxygen. So this was said that oxygen is due to the presence of water. Then later on, how this is splitted off, we know very well that hydrogen molecule and oxygen molecule in the water gets hydrolyzed. We know hydrolysis process, nothing but lysis. దీన్ని మనం hydrolysis అనే కాన్సెప్ట్ లో చదువుదాం. Hydrolysis nothing but lysis means breakdown. Hydro means water. So breakdown of water to form H plus and OH minus ions. Yes, H plus and OH minus ions. OH minus ions and H plus ions are released during electrolysis. Hence, this is applicable if we make the Robert-Hill's equation in photosynthesis. So this is how plants help in growth and make us a universal provider of the food, and we say these are the producers of our ecosystem. బికాస్ ఇందాక మనం చెప్పుకున్నట్టు ఏ లివింగ్ ఆర్గానిజం తీసుకున్నా అది డైరెక్ట్గానా ఇండైరెక్ట్గానా అవి దేని మీద డిపెండ్ అవుతున్నాయి, మొక్కల మీద. సో ప్లాంట్స్ ఆర్ సెట్ టు బి యాజ్ ద ప్రొడ్యూసర్స్. ఎస్, as you can see, when we are talking about the autotrophic nutrition, so autotrophs ante manam cheppukunnam like any organism that is capable of taking sunlight, preparing the food from and in the form of a chemical compound like carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, fats. But this concept or this process of preparation of food, we say that is carried out by the autotrophs, is said to be as autotrophic nutrition. So type of nutrition which is possessed by the autotrophs are called as autotrophic nutrition. Now as you can see here how the process of photosynthesis is taking place, where the plant is utilizing the sunlight in which it received by the chlorophyll pigment present in the chloroplast. Yes, in this next session we will learn how this chloroplast is absorbing the chlorophyll and the sunlight from the sun. Oxygen released out, yes, as in the respiration and as also in the photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is involved in the photosynthesis with the help of water molecules. So this is how the photosynthesis take place. So indaka manam cheppukunnattu carbon dioxide and one molecule of water helps in giving out a compound called as C6H12O6. So this is the equation or this is the formula of the carbohydrate produced during photosynthesis. Now what is it carbohydrate anna? Exactly, this is glucose. So glucose is said to be as C6H12O6, the food that is produced. Remember kids, ఇందాక మనం చెప్పినప్పుడు ఏమనుకున్నాం, గ్లూకోజ్ కార్బోహైడ్రేట్ అన్నప్పుడు కార్బోహైడ్రేట్స్ ఆర్ ఆల్సో నథింగ్ బట్ అ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ స్టార్చ్. ఎస్, సో క్యాన్ వి సే దెమ్ యాజ్ స్టార్చ్, ఒక పిండి పదార్థం, అవునా? So this starch can be tested whether they are produced in the plant during photosynthesis or not.